right, I've got 2:05. So let's go ahead and to get this meeting of the New Mexico State Workforce Development Board to order. First off, thank you everybody for joining us. I know it hasn't been so long since we've seen each other. And just as a quick explanation, according to our bylaws, we need to meet 4 times a year. And since we couldn't meet for a period of time, we're trying to ram a bunch of meetings here at the end of the year to be in compliance with our bylaws. So thank you everybody for joining us and helping us stay in compliance. All right, let's start off with our first presentation. Actually, before we do that, I wanted to thank the Mid-Region Council of Government for hosting us today. I don't know if Arthur's in.
No, it's not here. Art's not going to be able to do it. I'm Tawny Rowland. I'm going to be kind of taking his little part and then I'm going to turn it over to Sonora. So yes, welcome everyone. So happy you're all here.
Thank you. It really helps us out to have this meeting in your facility. So
it's our pleasure. Glad you guys could be here.
It's a beautiful building.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really.
I'm very jealous.
It is a nice building. Yeah.
He's on.
All right, now let's start off with our first community partner presentation. We have Rosemary, am I saying this right? Riano with Native American Partners. All right, Rosemary, welcome.
Nice, thank you. Thank you for allowing us to be in this space. No presentation today, you're just gonna see my face. My name is Rosemary Riano. I oversee the Santo Domingo Employment and Training Office here located in Santo Domingo, Pueblo. But I'm here on behalf of Native Workforce Partners, and Native Workforce Partners consists of myself as the 166 co-chair and my partner Bernadette Pantia from Zuni as the 477 co-chair. We also have our secretary Tara Frank. She works out of Native Professional Advancement Center. And so for those who may not know, not quite sure who's all in this space right now, but Native Workforce Partners is basically a culmination of all the 14 grantees within the state of New Mexico who also receive WIOA funding, tailored specifically to individuals enrolled in a federally recognized tribe. And so there's 14 grantees within the state of New Mexico, all spread out mostly in rural areas, but we also recognize Isleta del Sur, located in Isleta del Sur Pueblo in Texas, El Paso, Texas. And so again, thank you all for inviting us today. And so let's see where to start. Our journey with you has been an amazing journey, you know, just reconnecting and, you know, getting to work with everybody within Department of Workforce Solutions and all across, you know, all the services that are offered that are basically similar to how we provide the services as well. So we will first like to, you know, just talk about again, you know, WIOA 166477. There are 2 different types of funding sources or different ways to implement the funding that is tailored for employment and training services. And so let's see, there's for the most, again, there's the 14 grantees, but within the past, I want to say about 2.5 years, it's just basically gaining momentum and working directly with you all and finding out, you know, what's working, what's not working. And you know, more or less we're very happy that you all are willing to work with us because all
I think we lost your audio, Rosemary.
We lost your audio.
and so for me, looking at you know, Santo Domingo, Pueblo, I am basically a 1.5 staffed department here. I work full-time overseeing WIOA, and then I have my assistant. But you know, looking at, the state workforce, there's so many amazing people working in all the areas that need to be, involved in WIOA programming, such as, the case managers, there's career developers, but, all those titles are basically wrapped into mine. It's unfortunate. It's a lot of work, and there's a lot of, things, that we could be doing, could be servicing our community a lot better, but this is where we're at. And it's like that, in most of the rural areas within the state of New Mexico with our basically mostly our 166 programs, because those 166 programs are standalone programs, versus a 477. They have the opportunity through public law 102-477 to tie in different programming into one single source of funding, such as TANF, the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. There's other amazing programs, encompassed in that plan, and they all basically work to provide holistic support for their people. But again, looking at where we're at now, it's we're bringing back our efforts and working closely with our 14 grantees within the state of New Mexico, including us, little Dusser, the 15. And so, just recently, within the past, I want to say week and a half, we actually held a strategic planning session to where, we want to look at where we're at now, where we want to be, especially with you all, meet you all halfway somehow. We understand that, there's those MOUs in place with our regions. However, we don't know our grantees, we're not quite meeting that. We're not meeting you halfway. Maybe we're not showing up, or maybe we don't know what's, all going on within, Department of Workforce Solutions. There's just so many opportunities, but a lot of missed opportunities too, where we could potentially collaborate. We often talk about the need for addressing, co-enrollment. And that's something we haven't quite been able to figure out with you all. How are we going to service the same individual? Because right now, I don't believe our databases are talking. We enroll somebody here in New Mexico, in Santo Domingo, Pueblo, but I don't see, if they're being serviced out of, the state programming. I am able to see, though, if they're being serviced by a different Native American WIOA program, but not within the state. And so, just bringing this back up, we'd like to continue to work with you all, and however best we can. But again, going back to that strategic planning, we were really wanting to identify within our 14 grantees in the state of New Mexico, identifying at least one, point of contact, or one partner designated to work directly with our local workforce boards, the America's Job Centers, just so that you have a point of contact, but also so that we have a point of contact. Hopefully, if we can identify that with you all to help address those gaps in services for our community members. And so, we that was one suggestion coming out of our strategic planning. I know, within the state of New Mexico, Pueblo of Santo Domingo, we're really trying to look at the referral processes with our local workforce board, but I don't know, it's too much, maybe too much information, or we're not looking at it often enough. But maybe offering some in-person trainings, or some consistent professional development for individuals such as myself to be a part of the referral processes, the referral databases that you all have, because a lot of it has been you know, over the virtual trainings, but I believe, you know, for us to really focus on looking at the referral systems that you all use, we can look at potentially having in-person trainings. I feel we would, you know, really benefit from that. But at this time, you know, again, just going back, we appreciate you all for including us in this space. We look forward to the continued development of our relationship with you all and hope that we can partner soon, especially, you know, now that we will be tapping into some new funding sort of around green jobs. And so with the Native Workforce Partners, we've been able to secure $200,000 to support us in that initiative alone. And so, you know, if you specialize in the area, if you know of any partners, you know, you could connect us with to help support Native Americans, you know, in green jobs and getting that training and getting into that career pathway, please, you know, reach out to us. You can find us at nativeworkforcepartners.org. That is our website, and in that website you will see all 14 grantees within the state of New Mexico, but you will also see, you know, the leadership team that helps oversee Native Workforce Partners. Thank you all.
Thank you, Rosemary. First, are there any questions from the board? Yes.
Hi, Rosemary. This is Rebecca Estrada, and I don't have a question. I just wanted to say congratulations. I did get to see that you all did get that 500, I think it was 550,000 for the sustainable and infrastructure jobs with the work that you all have been doing with the Lannel Foundation. So just congratulations, and I think we're excited at, you know, having possible opportunities to work with you, particularly in those areas. So just congratulations and thank you for your presentation.
Any other questions, comments from the board? What about our board members online? Any questions or comments? All right. Well, a couple of things came to mind, Rosemary. I certainly understand the struggle being in a rural area and trying the challenges you're facing there are a lot different than more urban areas. One of the things that you brought up was integrating your system with the state system. And I guess this is really a question for you, Secretary. I know we have funding to do I'm going to get this wrong, but the aligned place management to integrate the different databases. Would this cover them as well?
Yeah, so I believe that I believe at least a couple of folks are involved in the Aligned Case Management Project. And so what that would allow us to do is make referrals back and forth to them, just the same way we might to a different social service provider or to a training program. What it wouldn't do though is actually integrate that back end so that we could have that single enrollment, like you ask all the questions of the participant just the one time, and that file kind of goes with them. I think we'd be still a little bit short of that. We would be able to see some of their history, but in terms of all the many, many things that we ask people to enroll them in our programs, there would be still some duplication of that effort, even with the aligned case management. And Veronica, you want to speak to any more of that?
Yeah, some good news. After we did meet on the back end, we have been working with our CIO to gain view-only access to our current in-depth job system. So myself and people from Suan's team, from our IT team, have been working on that. And so we think that's probably the first big step we'll be able to make, is to at least allow them to have the access to view who we're serving. And that's going to open up a lot of doors for them to speak and open up that communication to be able to see what we're doing with the same customer.
Excellent. So it seems like, at least with that, they'll have a lot more access and be able to see the information for their own customers. So yeah, Rosemary, it looks like we're not all the way there, but it seems like some very big improvements are being made in that direction. Another thing is this board recently created a ad hoc committee to look at the intake process for new customers, clients. And as part of that process, we can look to see how that might work with you guys as well. So maybe we will reach out to them when we start meeting to see if there are some synergies there. If there aren't any other questions or comments. All right. Well, thank you very much, Rosemary. Really appreciate your time and your presentation to us today. All right, moving on to our economic development presentation. We have the Creative Industries Division. Do we have Shani? Welcome.
Yeah, a presentation, so we're pulling it up. Okay.
Alrighty then, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shawnee Harvey,
And my name is Arlen Nelson. I'm the Creative Industries Division Coordinator.
and I'm the Division Director for New Mexico Economic Development's Creative Industries Division. We're a relatively new division. We were established in 2023, and we're under the Economic Development Department. So we're along with New Mexico Main Street, Outdoor Recreation Division, Film Office, et cetera. So a lot of the different programs that are there. And we are hyper-focused on supporting New Mexico's creative economy. So we do that by providing grants, connections to different resource offices, workshops. We've been doing a lot of referrals back to the pre-apprenticeship program with you all here, and then making referrals to like the workforce development boards. So we're going to give you a brief overview of what constitutes creative industries, because it is quite broad, and then some of the initiatives we've been working on, and then we'll kind of pause for questions, and then we've got cards and brochures available as well.
So what we cover in the creative industries is actually, we call them 6 different industry clusters. But in those industry clusters, we actually are over 100 different North American identification codes. So a lot of our creative businesses actually overlap in certain areas, but to be able to break it down a little easier, we kind of give some examples from performing arts, visual arts, and literary arts that kind of falls into our performing arts and artisan space when it comes down to woodwork, culinary arts, and then your painters, media infrastructure, and as you can see, everything else that we have up here. So we actually cover so many different areas that it's hard to say what is not a creative business a lot of times. So what we try to do is try to get as much information and data to be able to give everybody that information to define that, but also help with our support organizations such as Workforce Solutions, our small business development centers, and even our regional reps with the Economic Development Department to understand how do they properly talk to a creative business owner, knowing that a creative business is a little different than your traditional business, right? And it takes a lot to think about how do they take in data, whether that's quantitative or qualitative, and then what are the avenues to kind of show that they actually make an economic impact in their areas. So we can go to the next slide.
So this is a snapshot of the creative economy for New Mexico. We're responsible for about $6 billion in annual economic activity, and we also make up about 12% of GRT establishments within the state and 1.6 billion in taxable annual wages. So we're up there with some of the other industry areas because we have so many different things kind of lumped into creative industries, but this is a huge driver and also very tied to New Mexico's identity. And you have a timeline here. We've done about $2 million in grant funding since the division was established back in 2023, and we're hoping to increase that number probably up to 6 million by the end of the fiscal year if we're able to push the whole special appropriation out the door. So that's looking at a lot of different projects and programs where we're asking people to incorporate workforce components, education components, and we've also got some cool collaborations that we've been working on with New Mexico Main Street, as well as New Mexico Arts and their Folk Arts Apprenticeship Program, where we're actually trying to create a tie-in back to the pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship programs offered through DWS. Because oftentimes creatives like to operate in their own wheelhouse and they think that there's nothing else in the state that supports them. And that's absolutely false. There's a ton of different programs, and we're kind of like the center point for showing people what those programs and services are and giving them the friendly connection to get them there. The stat also that we like to use is that employment levels in arts, entertainment, and recreation, that's one NAICS code out of like the 100 NAICS codes that we're responsible for, is projected for 118% growth by 2030, and that's just for the US. Oh, sorry, thank you.
And so since we started, actually, we were like fully staffed last year, November. We kicked off starting off some of our grants. Our first two grants that we did last year was actually a Creative Industry Week grant that was going to roughly creative support organizations that help to be able to think about like how are they engaging their creative business owners to be able to understand how to get them from hobbyists to actual business and profitable, to other workshops that actually help them to be able to get government contracts, grant writing workshops and otherwise. Then we did our first time of doing the business development and expansion grant, which focus goes directly to creative business owners, helping some of the present needs. Because one thing we didn't talk about is the 2024 study that was focused on the creative economy and what some of the needs were. Most of our grants are tied to those needs, where see the wayfinding, the physical location for a lot of creative business owners, and then the need of understanding grant access, but also employees. We focused a lot of that towards the business development expansion grant. And then this year is our first year of doing the creative support organization grant, which we just closed about 2 weeks ago. We had over 100 applicants apply for that throughout the state. We're still going through some of those applications. So if you see our auto reply, this is the full division. So we're the ones looking at all 100 of those applications, as well as our ambassador program that we recently started to kind of help us with using creative business owners for organizations to help us get our work done. So.
Yeah, and one more comment on this is we did institute a grant FAQ policy. So we're focused on businesses that have been established for 3 years or longer. And that's just because we're trying to prove a case to the legislature. So our programs are looking at, what kind of economic impact these businesses are going to have over time, hiring, increase in sales and expansion, increase in leverage investment. And some of our startups just aren't in that space. So that's kind of where our support organization grant funding is going to folks to help with the technical assistance, business development, incubation side of that early ideation and conception phase for businesses.
Also, we also have a 50% requirement to put our funding into rural areas as well. So when it comes down to people thinking in urban areas, we are considering that, and that's part of our rural and underserved requirement. So that's something to think and consider when you're, earlier we talked about rural areas. We actually have that focus in a lot of our work.
Yeah, and this one's going to open December 1 and then again on February 2nd. So we'll be running 2 rounds of that, and they're looking at up to $25,000 over 2 years. And it's for kind of equipment and inventory expansion, and for folks that are looking at doing systems improvement and development on their back end. So when we're asking for metrics, they can actually have, a system in place to do that, because most artists and creatives want to get back to the creative part, and the back end systems is not their favorite. So we're trying to support them in those areas as well. So a lot of the different ways that we support our programs is we have our 3 ongoing grant programs. The only one we didn't talk about today is an infrastructure focused program that is for local governments, municipalities, nations, tribes, and pueblos. That will likely open in January, and it'll be very similar to an initial call for projects that was ran for the division before there was any staff. And that's going to be looking at supporting local governments in their creative industries infrastructure and existing programming. So that announcement will come soon. But the other way that we have been supporting folks is through our resource center, our knowledge center, as well as our newsletter. Our newsletter monthly, we send out different artist funding opportunities that we collate from across the states, different programs and incentives that creative professionals can plug into. We're also offering, free classes and workshops to help connect artists to AI, IP kind of processes, so they can get familiar with that and do it in a way that is important for them and safeguards their own protections. And then we also have a resource center that has over 500 different creative assets and programs across the state. And we're constantly looking at ways to kind of improve that. And because we don't necessarily meet with people who are just in the business startup phase, this is where we will guide them, or we will work with them to kind of build out a list of different nonprofits and programs like West, Arts Hub, other EDOs that are in chambers that are doing this work to kind of help people at the beginning phase of that process. So that resource center also has different creative assets. If people are looking for studios, venues, you're looking for a graphic designer or a videographer, it's almost like a white pages of creative businesses, but also different business support services for the creative industries. So that's kind of a catch-all, since Arlen and I can't be in 18 places at once and we haven't perfected the art of cloning yet. So that's kind of our main piece there. And the Knowledge Center is where we're capturing a lot of people's data and storytelling about what the creative industries is doing in their own communities, and different stories and things that people can lean on, including like a how to tell your story template that Arlen put together in the last recently.
The Knowledge Center is my baby, pretty much. So look at the Knowledge Center for sure. And honestly, it's not just for just the creatives. I really think it goes into understanding what is going on in the workforce for the creative economy specifically, because we just pulled, we actually have the Asian American Pacific Islander impact data set in there that the Asian Business Collaborative put together. We also have some of the latest information on some of the highest paid occupations within the creative industries using our North American identification codes that we are over. So it overlaps to see how New Mexico actually fit, whether that's occupation or starting your own business. Because I don't want to get to the whole point of where we're just thinking about entrepreneurs starting in the creative space and not thinking about what occupations you can have before you think about going out on your own, right? So the Knowledge Center is a good point for any reference, any state organization to be able to think about what's going on data wise. And our study is there, and I push heavy for everyone to really pay attention and look at our study, because that gives you a 5-year plan of what we are trying to implement, but also just the idea of where the creative economy is actually going. We just had a question earlier about what are the highest fields that we're seeing, like coming and talk to us and seeing economic impact. And it was hard because like it's so many different industry areas that we can see that shining star. But in that study, you can see it already. So it's like culinary arts and chocolatiers are our biggest in culinary on the culinary side. But nobody is thinking about chocolatiers, right? You don't really know where you get to see a chocolatier, but they're making a lot of money. So that study helps you to reinforce what's going on.
That's kind of what we're up to and what we're working on. What we do actively is we refer folks to other state programs and services that can help them through workforce development, education. Karen's been a really great help in helping us connect with the pre-apprenticeship programs. And so we can understand the ins and outs of those and what type of creative professionals we can refer over. And we also see a ton of creative professionals who are in that space that pre-apprenticeship and internship programs are really beneficial for them if they're able to have that support. And then they can do it where they're actually teaching other people trades in the process. So one of the partnerships that we're working on right now is with New Mexico Arts in their folk arts apprenticeship program. So we helped, I think, almost double their funding so that they could fund 12 different, maybe it dropped to 13, I think it dropped one. 12 or 13 pairs of master crafters and an apprentice to come in and learn these different trades that otherwise would kind of be almost a dying art. So when we think about leather making, mosaics, neon, these kinds of guitar making, yeah, a lot of different areas where we see some overlap. And then, some of our grantees are also people that are in your apprenticeship programs like Clarksis Media doing really great work around production training. And that's where I should add the caveat that we don't work directly with film and TV. We're more focused on digital media, content creation, entertainment, and broadcasting. So there's a lot of overlap, but it's still a little bit separate. And typically what I tell people is we're the first touch point for creative professionals in the state when they come in, if they haven't already been working with Department of Cultural Affairs and New Mexico Arts. Then we'll send them out to other state agencies and programs so that we can help them understand all the different pieces that are available in the state for their support. So part of how we're doing that is we're going to do 6 different statewide convenings between March and June of next year. So in the midst of grant administration, we're also doing event coordinating. So keep us in mind. We're gonna be doing 5 mini convenings in Silver City, Raton, Gallup, Carlsbad, and Pueblo Huaque at Buffalo Thunder Casino, where we're basically gonna do like an introduction to creative industries and creative economy and what's available in the state to support you. So we'll be tapping on the workforce development boards and different folks to, you know, have you in attendance and get any kind of information we can to share out to creative community. And that's gonna lead up to a conference in Albuquerque that's kind of a larger gathering to show people just how much is out there, both at the state and local level, but also in the nonprofit and support organization space to promote creative industry growth. New Mexico's identity is very tied to creative economy. You all know that, likely know that Santa Fe earned the top travel destination for the United States. That is a purely creative economy built town, and several other cities in New Mexico have that same creative identity. And we're trying to, you know, help them bring that to surface and also show people the relevancy of creative economy work in traditional economic development. Because we're gonna have a really hard time attracting large companies and scaling big industry if we don't have things for our families to do. And that typically tends to fall into creativity and entertainment. So that's the mission we're on. And we're tackling it from the back end on the business development side. And, you know, anything we can do to partner with you all and get more businesses, you know, taking it advantage of what the state has to offer. That's why we're here, and that's the mission that we're on. Thank you for having us and giving us, you know, that's a crash course. And then we have the brochures, we'll leave them by the door with the materials for you all. And then our cards will be there as well. And anything we can do to, you know, help our companies understand what kind of workforce stuff they have available. That's what we're all about. Lots of creative companies are using GTIP right now. I know Patrick was on the call, but similarly, there's a lot of creative manufacturers that just don't realize that they are also eligible for a lot of services and incentives. So we're just trying to tell the story and elevate what our creative economy is already doing so beautifully.
Well, thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions, comments? Yes.
Comment. I just want to commend you. In 2 years, you've done a pretty phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Your systems mapping looks wonderful. I'm going through your resources now, so I just wanted to compliment you.
Thank you.
Great resources.
Thank you so much.
And it's just the two of you working together, or you have other folks working with you?
This is the full division, and then yeah, and then
Congratulations.
thank you. What we did do this year is, I'd be remiss, we have 29 ambassadors across the state that were willing to volunteer their time to help us review applications and get the word out about programs. So I'm unable to compensate them without a white paper and some very creative ways where I'm trying to take them out to lunch. But we have another group of 29 people that are supporting this work with grant scoring and kind of awareness and talking to folks. So that's kind of our temporary team of
How do you recruit those folks?
we have an ambassador program that's listed on the website, and right now, we've capped that at 30 for the year, and then we'll reopen it next year for folks.
We've been putting it in our marketing a lot of times too as well. So everything that we have promotes it.
Like a professional development opportunity / please help us and get a grant from that.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Was there a comment or a question online? Did you have one?
Hi, Patrick Gannon here with the Economic Development Department. No comments, just to say great job, great presentation. Thank you so much.
Sorry, one last. How many grants have you awarded?
To do the math, I think we have about 30 grantees total. Okay. 18 for our initial call for projects, 11 for business development and expansion, plus another 7 for the creative industries event support grant. So it's like 1 point, and then another 10 for arts and cultural district pilot program. So maybe 40, 50 grantees at this point.
Right, in 2 years. That's impressive.
That would be three years, including the 18 initial call for project.
Oh, the 18.
Just about, and I think at this point, we're up to 2 million in grant making because we did a partnership with New Mexico Arts and New Mexico Main Street to fund the arts and cultural districts. They have a fund that's never been funded with state funding, and we know that they just need a little bit of programming support, and they do some really incredible work. So a lot of those communities are gonna be doing placemaking, activations, and technical support, and we'll be reporting on those updates as well.
So I'll just add my thanks and also, this was House Majority Leader Rena Sapansky's baby, her like only legislative priority of the year that it came out. And I know you really, both of you have really made her vision a reality. And so just really grateful for that. Shani and I used to work together in the city. She herself is an artist. Arlen is a DWS alum. So we got lots of connection to this office. I have a kind of technical question, I guess. We are doing a lot of work around labor force participation rate, right? And we know that fewer people are participating in the formal labor force in New Mexico than in other states. But I've always wondered, whether artists are showing up as being in the labor force or not, because so many of them are solopreneurs or they're, and just curious, like what you've seen as the balance of people who might have a day job, W-2 kind of job that shows up in our data versus the ones who are doing some combination of gig and aren't showing up.
Yeah, that's a great question. And the reality is that the data is the hardest piece of this, because having trust from people to report on what they're doing and actually getting real numbers is not reflective. So we talk about 12% of GRT and 6 billion in annual and economic activity. That's only based on what we can track from like census data and things that people were willing to share. Micro enterprises and self-employed folks typically are not included in those numbers when we see them at the national level. So there is a huge segment of gig economy artists and folks that are doing 80 hours a week in the creative economy through 4 different jobs that are then not counted as a full-time employee of that industry area. So there is a huge gap there, and they are not typically included in those numbers. So a lot of the gig economy work is you have to look at those numbers specifically. But even when we're talking about, NAICS code measurements, a lot of that stuff is very foreign for artistic or creative businesses. You might pick NAICS code when you set up the LLC, but then your business might shift over time. So even trying to track it that way is we're using a system that's not reflective of the current environment, but it's the only tool that we have.
Exactly. So one of the things in the study it talks about, we pretty much have to make our own ways of capturing that data, because when it comes down to even the NIC codes, like a business can have 6 or 7 NIC codes if it's in the creative space, especially now with content creation and marketing. So we do our best to get them to select multiple, but also the other charge is we got to see, so really since I started, so many non-traditional businesses that artists have. I've met an artist that works with nonprofits as a partner, and the nonprofit is the one that goes for the money and grants and pays them do that. And so that's not being tracked to understand like GRT in that case. So we've been trying to find ways to get an artist to think about like starting formally what those incentives can be, because the fear is taxes are high and I might lose my money, or I put money into a building and lose that, and then that goes into my personal debt. So it's a lot of fear that we have to kind of counteract to get them to think about actually, okay, I'm gonna be an LLC, I'm gonna actually track my taxes and know that I can get write-offs from my equipment and other stuff that I'm doing, so they don't know the incentive behind moving to that formalization.
Typically, an artist has a really hard time being tracked formally through the system, because when we're talking about performers or filmmakers, they're working contract jobs. They're being treated as a 1099. So even if the production comes in or a theatrical performance comes in and hires 100 people, it's only for a season, it's only for a project. So it doesn't get counted in that full number, even though that person might be working on different productions for a full year. So those are the kinds of conversations that we have. We're talking to our economist team now about doing some updates on like the figures that we talked about earlier. But if there's ever an opportunity to talk with your team, and if you have analysts working on that, it's a very weird gray problem, and it's very apparent for creative industries.
Thank you. That's a great answer. And I'm making a note to myself here we're doing a survey on labor force participation rate. Would love to get it out to your network because then we'll get a good representation of those folks answering questions about the formal economy. And also just because Rosemary happens to be on the call, you know, one of our biggest challenges in working with the Native workforce partners is data collection and, you know, the federal data collection categories. We have people identifying by tribe or pueblo, you know, things that we are used to tracking in New Mexico. But I'm thinking in this area that overlaps between tribal creative industries is probably a complete data desert, I'm guessing. So maybe that's something that all three of us can work on a little bit together too.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Well, I just want to say, my day job is doing economic development and recruiting, manufacturing, warehousing to Santa Teresa, New Mexico. Definitely not part of the creative industries, more of the traditional metal stamping.
Don't we have a candy confection?
We do, yes. It's in Mexico though, so, but I do want to say, I really do appreciate what you guys do, because you hit it on the head when you said that these types of things really add to the culture, the flavor of New Mexico. And that really counts when we're trying to recruit some of these companies, because we can show them, this is the type of community that you're coming into, you know, so your managers who will be here, they're gonna have a higher quality of life than another state that is next door to us. So we do appreciate, I mean, and then to see that 12% of the state's economy is based on creative industries just kind of blew me away. So thank you very much for what you guys are doing. Oh, one quick question. You mentioned that you do kind of work with the New Mexico Small Business Development Centers.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Is there a lot going on, or is?
So we did have a meeting with the Albuquerque-based SBDCs a little while ago, and we're actually set up with the main SBDC director to talk about doing a presentation for the statewide SBDC network, likely early 2026. And we refer folks actively. There's not like an MOU or a written partnership, but because they're kind of like the first point of contact for business development, we've been referring a lot of people that way. And then we're also trying to have the conversation with the SBDC directors around when a creative comes in to talk about their business plan, it might not sound like anything you've ever heard before. And that doesn't mean that we should try to get them to conform into like, you know, get rid of the vintage record part and don't do the fashion thing, like just make it a coffee shop. There's really a great opportunity here that New Mexico can capitalize on to allow those creatives to really build into their vision, but they also have to know that entrepreneurship doesn't necessarily come easy. So there's two pieces of that, and then you know, helping them to understand the artists, and then also encouraging our artists to see themselves as entrepreneurs. And I lost my other point, but
Well, that's perfect, because we do a lot of work. We do work closely with them, but you've already made that contact with the state director, so looks like you guys are already handling it. Thank you,
Thank you.
and thank you very much for your time and your presentation. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to our partner update section. We have the Central Area Workforce Development Board update.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, welcome to the Mid-Region Council of Governments. My name is Tanya Rowland. I am the WCCNM Senior Program Manager. Unfortunately, Art Martinez isn't able to join us in person today, so I'm going to be giving you a really brief overview of our four-year local plan and the WCCNM, and then I'm going to be turning it over to my coworker, Sonora Rodriguez, who is the WCCNM Program Manager leading our sector strategy initiatives. Or not. So the WCCNM is the local workforce development board for the Albuquerque Metropolitan Statistical Area, which includes Bernalillo, Sandoval, Torrance, and Valencia counties. The combined area represents about 43% of the state's total population and is the state's largest employment area. The central region is projected to see the fastest employment growth in New Mexico at about 15% over the next 10 years. WCCNM's mission is to build the systems, teams, and approaches that will make central New Mexico an environment that attracts, motivates, and equips individuals and employers to achieve their highest potential. WCCNM's focus is on serving and underemployed individuals with barriers to employment and training, including individuals from historically disadvantaged communities. The Mid-Region Council of Governments, through an intergovernmental services agreement, is the administrative entity and fiscal agent for the WCCNM board. The Mid-Region Council of Government administers the WCCNM WIOA funded Title I adult dislocated worker and youth programs, the region's 4 America's Job Centers, and discretionary grants unrelated to WIOA Title I funding. So WCCNM's 4-year plan was developed following the State Workforce Development Board state plan. The WCCNM plan emphasizes the importance of collaboration and transparency through stakeholder and partner involvement, and it serves as a 40-year roadmap to develop, align, and integrate the state's systems and achieve the state's vision and strategic and operational goals, cross-goal strategies, and alignment strategies. Sector strategy development really is the overarching goal throughout the state and WCCNM 4-year plans. Sector strategy development is the common thread that drives the achievement of the state and central region goals. So effective sector strategy development outcomes include the successful implementation of state and local plan strategies needed to achieve all goals, which include developing sector-specific career pathways to identify and meet employer-driven training needs, including soft skills, developing a resilient and ready workforce to achieve the economic goals of the state, to increase the labor force participation rate. Currently, the Albuquerque MSA is about 61%, state is about 57%, and nationally, the LFPR is about 63%. And lastly, to attracting out-of-state workers and helping to retain local workers. So the WCCNM's focus is on high-demand occupations. Healthcare and social assistance are our highest demand jobs. Professional, scientific, and technical service are also high demand. Construction and skilled trades, including infrastructure, transportation, broadband, and energy, are also high demand. And our emerging industries include film and digital media, advanced manufacturing, space technology, directed energy, and bioscience. So sector strategy and career pathway development through WCCNM's discretionary grants began in 2016 with the USDOL H-1B Tech Hire Grant. The focus was IT and tech sector development. Currently, we are also managing the Pathway Home 3 Reentry Employment Opportunity Grant that was awarded in 2022. This grant assists incarcerated individuals in reintegrating into society, which helps increase the LFPR. And currently, also, 2023, the USDOL H-1B Pathways to Infrastructure Job Grants Award, that's sector strategy development, and career pathways in broadband and transportation and energy that Sonora is leading. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Moore. Thanks.
Thanks, Tanya, for providing that context of what we're doing in the central region. just to make sure that we're all on the same page with what a sector strategy is. It's a regional, industry-focused approach on building skills, a skilled workforce to help align public and private partnerships to address talent needs. So this infographic that you see is guidance from the US DOL that drives how we as a region move towards the goals of sector strategy. So the core is data-informed decision-making, worker voice and job quality, and engaged partnerships. So, sector strategies are fundamentally about systems alignment. So some of the work that we've been doing within the Building Pathways to Infrastructure grant is we've created an ad hoc committee for our sector advisory council. So it's an ad hoc committee from our WCCNM board, and it's inclusive of subject matter experts as well as outside of our board. And our foundational project was really looking at funding asset map that we created. We wanted to understand the landscape of funding and who is doing work related to workforce development in these sectors. Another aspect of our work with the H-1B grant is working closely with DWS's IT team to use the existing database, which is the NM Jobs, to collect participant data. This was an important part of the project because, again, in the past for tech hire grant, we used an outside database. So we really wanted to make sure that we're using existing infrastructure to do this work. And then we've also created survey instruments, working with AJC staff to really understand what businesses need. And we collaborated with DWS on some of the templates that were created for the sector strategy convening that we held in October. So we know that there's been a large push within this year to develop sector strategies and convene local employers. So we were happy to host that on October 29th. So again, happy to participate in the working group. As part of another extension of sector strategies, the City of Albuquerque's Economic Development Department, CNM, and the Aspen Institute have brought to New Mexico the Workforce Leadership Academy. And New Mexico is part of 104 across the nation. So there's North Carolina, Cleveland, Baltimore are among the other academies across the nation, which brings together many leaders across siloed fields of practice, organization types, government policies that make up the field. So WCCNM was one of the initial sponsors of this, and our executive director has been deeply involved in this advisory council along with Secretary Nair to really support and direct this initiative. I've had the privilege of representing WCCNM within this year-long academy with other workforce leaders in the region. And some of the questions that we're really exploring is how might we make sense of the current workforce assets available in the central region? Really looking at like a systems approach, recognizing that no single entity, employers, training providers, workforce boards, or state agencies can meet workforce needs on its own. Instead, we're exploring how relationships must align to lasting impact. So with these experiences that we have within this academy, historically in 2016, we have some experience with sector strategies. So we recognize there are some needs that maybe aren't being met at this time. So we want to continue to for greater transparency and collaboration with DWS leadership from the onset, because we recognize that existing and new employers coming into the region, we sometimes are a little late to the game. Recognizing and defining the recognition of roles, including employer engagement, really breaking down those silos within DWS and the local boards. Needing to look at a holistic approach to sector strategies, right? Looking at barriers to participation, building on-ramps for underrepresented groups, focusing on quality jobs, not just job placement, but living wages, benefits, advancing opportunities for career pathways, and funding alignment, right? We recognize the need to address this fragmented funding, and we're still trying to figure out how DWS Safe 2 grant and H-1B can coexist and be mutually exclusive, because our goals are nearly aligned, and that most participants are being enrolled in the central region. So we haven't quite figured that out yet, but and that is a challenge, but we look forward to the collaboration. The opportunities are endless, right? Strengthen partnerships, data-informed decision making, meeting metrics for job placement and career pathways, and really an opportunity for all of us to look internally at what silos and operational boundaries exist. With that, I just wanted to highlight our local workforce ecosystem, right? This isn't an exhaustive list, but you can see there are many partners within the central region. And with that comes challenges and opportunity. So some of the innovation and continuous quality improvement that we're making in the central region is our functional management plan for WCCM, which is our guiding document that plans and helps the organizational structure of a well integrated workforce system. Daniel Sanchez, who's over there, he's our one-stop operator, and he's in charge of implementing this plan and works collaboratively with partner staff, managers, supervisors to really make sure the AJCs function as a whole. So with over like 100 staff, Title I, Title III, co-located partners, non-co-located partners, there's a real need for intentional collaboration. So some of the innovation and the tools that we use are our internal partner referral system. We're also using AI tools, and I'll explain a little bit in the next couple slides, and our Power BI dashboard and newsletter. So this is actually a screenshot of our internal referral system. So you can see we have total referrals by staff name and receiving partner, and our top 5 receiving partner and our referral partners. So we have our apprenticeship program at the top, receiving the most referrals, and Wagner Pizer Title III sending those referrals. So we really, in the central region, are making decisions based on data that we're collecting. So this is just a back end. We also wanted to highlight some of our customer flow, who's coming in and what time. So you can see our peak hours in our AJCs are at 9 a.m. Our most popular days, 9 a.m. and then you can kind of see the timeline. So we're really being intentional about looking at the data and who's coming in and what services they're receiving, right? Career services, walk-ins, unemployment insurance. So we have some great data scientists on our team that can really help us understand and make decisions. And also we're using AI and marketing tools. So we have the Oculus, which is a virtual reality headset that we have at the One Stop in the Albuquerque Center to promote career explorations facilitated through our youth service provider. We use Notion, which is a case management tool. We're also, our apprenticeship team is really focusing on virtual appointments and virtual info sessions to help meet businesses to navigate that apprenticeship process. And we're using Scribe to document our workflows because, as you know, there's many workflows and challenges with so many partners. And finally, we're using AI Gen, which is a virtual video generation, content creation AI tool. And really that's increasing our visibility to our WCCNM website. And I'll just show you, if you haven't visited our website, stop share, sorry about that. We have some really great tools that really expand awareness of our services. So you can see here we have many different videos of what we offer at the AJCs within the course plan, because sometimes it's a little overwhelming for somebody coming into the center. So this is also an increased opportunity. Next, what I would like to highlight is our in the spirit of transparency for the local workforce board here in the central region, we've created a dashboard. So not only for our local board, but for you all as state board members to really see what we're doing at the local level, to create that transparency. So if you scroll all the way down, this tool, once we get there, is our interactive tool, the dashboard. So this is really, we have a chair's corner and our board chair, I think, yes, Stacy here, thank you for coming. Just comments on what's going on within the year or the quarter. We have our partner updates. Again, this is kind of forward facing. You all saw the back end of our partner referral system. And I think what would be interesting for you all to know is we share our budget, right? We want to create transparency in how we're spending the public's money. So this has been a great tool to create that transparency. And then finally, we want to encourage you all to follow us on social media. We have a great social media team. And we keep track of our metrics, our followers, and we've really increased awareness of what we do within the local workforce. So just wanted to give you a little bit of a plug there to follow us. And then finally, I'll just share our QR code for our newsletter. And that sharing. Well, sorry about that. There you go. Oh, it is. Okay, cool. Yeah, so if you'd like to learn about what we're doing in the central region, even if your business has some information or events, we would love to highlight that. So please feel free to subscribe. And with that, I will stand for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments from the board? Online, any questions or comments?
Actually, I might.
Sure.
When you talked earlier about when you're thinking about what some of the opportunities might be for breaking down those silos and barriers. Like, and I recognize this may be a hard question to answer right now in a second, but just like ideally off the top of your head, like what do you think that ecosystem could look like, say, amongst the 4 workforce boards, regional workforce boards?
Yeah, I think within the 4 workforce boards, we do meet monthly to kind of talk through our challenges. So that's one place. I think because the central region is so urban, yes, we do have rural aspects. We can't quite understand the challenges that maybe some of the more rural regions face, but we also get some great insight on how to collaborate. So I think the continued meeting of the minds, right? And the subject matter experts on the ground is a big key.
Mr. Espinosa, have your hand raised?
Yes, that's very good information, and right, and I was gonna ask you, can you put up that barcode right away real quick, please?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for the information. It's very informative on what I need of it. Thank you.
Thanks. Wow.
Anybody else? All right, well, thank you very much. I just signed up, so but appreciate you guys presenting to us today. And again, thank you for hosting us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to the end of our presentations. We're moving on to our roll call.
Intervene. Promise I'm not contagious. I just didn't want to be cough over everyone. Sorry, coughing, cough drops. Yeah.
Just bring the jar, okay?
And we were together. All right, so everyone, right here. Okay, Alexander. Senator Michael Padilla. Representative Jane Gallegos. Chair Joshua Roscoe.
Present.
Casey Durant. Present. Rebecca Estrada. Present. Deborah Moore is excused. Carlos Romero is also excused. Mathis Shinnick.
Present.
Luis Reyes.
Had his hand up there.
Had his hand up, yeah.
There.
Terry Stewart.
Present.
Patricia Chavez.
Present.
Erica Jenke. Bill Wagner is excused. Beth Williams.
Present.
Ian Murillo.
Present.
Carl Adams. Paula Espinosa.
Present.
Dr. Sabrina Nadal.
Present.
You. Kelly Roseworth. Present. Secretary Serena Meyer.
Present.
Amber Gallup.
Present.
Director Greg Trapp.
Present.
Commissioner Manuel Sanchez. Deputy Secretary Scott Babinski.
Here.
Deputy Secretary Marcos Martinez.
Here.
Deputy Director Buzi Gutierrez.
Present.
Patrick Gannon.
Present.
And then Cabinet Secretary Carrie Armijo. And we have a quorum.
All right. Okay, thank you. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes to our agenda today? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So
as written?
moved.
Thank you.
Agenda. I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. In the room, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And online, can we do a quick roll call?
I'll start. Patrick Gannon, yes.
Okay. Terry Stewart, yes.
Amber Gallup, yes.
Sabrina Ezell, yes.
Mathis Shinnick, yes.
Darlene Murillo, yes.
Beth Williams, yes.
Paul Espinosa, yes.
Reyes, can you hear us? Even without him responding.
Okay. All right. With that, the agenda is approved. Now moving on to the approval of our minutes from our October 30th meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review those? And if so, is there a motion to approve? Yes.
I think a correction needs to be made to the last page. You have higher education GROW fund update. I believe it's supposed to be a GRO fund. And then I'm not sure if you have to spell it out first, government results and opportunity, because it's referenced twice.
We can do that.
I move to accept the minutes with the required changes.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Any other updates to the minutes? And thank you, Breezy, for catching that. Auto check probably changes GRO.
Yeah.
All right, hearing no other changes, it's moved and seconded. In the room, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And online, let's do a roll call vote.
Mathis Shinnick.
Approve.
Luis Reyes. Stan Williams.
Aye. Did you say Beth Williams? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, yes, aye.
Arlene Murillo.
Aye.
Paula Espinosa.
Yeah.
Sabrina Nadal.
Approve.
Gallup.
Aye.
And Patrick Cannon.
Yes.
Is anyone? Terry Stewart.
Aye.
All right, the minutes have been approved with the recommended changes. Thank you. Now moving on to committee updates. First off, we have our policy committee, and since Carla is not here, is that you, Ron?
Thank you, Chair. There's very little updates. Since the last meeting, the policy committee has not had an opportunity to meet, but we are back on schedule. And we have our next meeting next Thursday. We meet pretty much every Thursday as possible as we can to review the policies. Our policy that we've been working on, I believe Carla mentioned last time, is our local governance policy. And so we're hoping to get that one finalized and present it to you all next week. And then we're also making some changes to some current policies. Our youth policy, which was approved by the board a few months ago, needs a change. So that would be a youth policy change 1 to our current policy. And then we have our adult and dislocated worker policy that was approved in 2021. And so we're going to make a minor change to that. We're not going to do a full revamp of that because we just don't have the time to do that right now, but we do need to focus on some work authorization pieces of each of those changes to the current policies that we have to change 1 for the youth and at least the adult dislocated worker policy change 3.
Thank you. I saw a note from Amber that the audio is a little faint. Can the rest of the people online hear okay, or is it faint for you as well?
Fine.
Oh, okay. You sound clear, but when
Right.
somebody else is speaking in the background, that's when it's difficult for me. But if not for anybody else, then maybe it's my audio.
Right. It's a
Okay,
little
well-
difficult for me as well.
Yeah, you might just have to speak up.
Well, we'll try to speak a little louder then.
Project.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments from the board online? Any questions or comments?
No.
Okay, thank you for the update. Now moving on to our business engagement committee, Casey.
Hi there, we haven't met since the last board meeting, but we're trying to plan for November, but we're trying to also get set for Thursdays and have conflicts in the next 2 Thursdays, so it'll probably be early December. And we are recruiting business leaders. I did recruit directors at the last workforce board, so I think when we get going again, it'll be great.
Excellent. Any questions for Casey? Online? All right.
Cool.
Moving on to our education and workforce committee, Kelly.
Apologies for missing the last board meeting and the orientation, so this may be a bit redundant, but Deputy Secretary Groginski, I think, reported out on what the last 12 months have looked like for our committee. So I'll just quickly go over maybe some of the highlights and the progress we've made. I've talked before, it took us about a good 12 months to create some good vision, mission, value proposition, and then 6 key initiatives. So the last, I would say, 4 months have been focused on, under those 6 key initiatives, what are some measurable goals that we could propose? And so with that effort, focus to elevate demand-driven industries. We talked about a lot about that at the board meeting level, of course, but how we improve engagement and coordination with WIOA and expand access to recognized credentials and meaningful pathways. We hear a lot about that, even with the central presentation. But some actionable goals that have been in motion was the proclamation. We did get a proclamation signed by the governor declaring September Workforce Development Month. So hopefully we can expand upon that and see some progress and effort made behind anyone in the workforce development space next year. the employer engagement and data. The DWS employer survey, our group looked at the 2023 survey along with the 2024 survey. We proposed a few suggested changes. I think that's under review. Not that that would be an effort every year. I understand that you need some continuity and consistency with that, but we did submit some suggested changes. Under collaboration and coordination, we did receive a presentation from SNAP on the employment and training. I think we can see this possibly as an opportunity moving forward, especially given the focus that has been around SNAP benefits as a result of a lot of things happening, but most pressingly the recent special session. So we may see that our group puts more of a focus on understanding that from the HCA side. So continue kind of cross agency collaboration with everyone we've kind of mentioned, if the secretary and the state workforce development board deems that acceptable as an effort by our group. But looking forward, efforts to coordinate with other subcommittee groups. Casey, I'm excited and happy that you're leading the charge on the other group and look forward to that collaboration. So not a whole lot to report since Groginski reported on my behalf last meeting, but yeah.
Thank you, Kelly. Any questions, comments for Kelly?
Sorry, last two things. I failed to thank two new members to the committee, Director Gutierrez and Chancellor Dr. Izell. So thank you both for joining me.
I apologize in first meeting. But I am.
Yeah,
committed,
that
I
doesn't mean, I was
promise.
gonna say, that doesn't mean you can get off.
I apologize in front of everyone. I apologize.
Appreciate the interest and support. So group's growing.
Thank you, Kelly. And for the Data and Performance Committee, we have not met. I haven't done anything with it yet. I apologize, but in my defense, it's been, I think, 2 weeks. Yeah, to the other chairs, no expectation that you had to meet in between. And the same goes for the our ad hoc committee, the intake process committee. I'm kind of thinking we'll get started after the new year. Because I know my life is crazy and just gonna get crazier, and I think everybody else is. So it'll probably be after the new year. Have a report. Any questions, comments for me or any other chairs? Not hearing or seeing any. All right. Let's move on to NMDWS updates. Any legislative updates for us?
Sure, I was gonna give a little broader than legislative updates, if that's okay. So first, I just want to start by thanking our team at DWS. We've had a tremendous number of new projects, new money, a bunch of stuff to do this year, and everybody has really stepped up, and everybody is like trying to keep it going through the end of the year. We're all so tired, and apologies that I missed the meeting last week as well, or last 2 weeks ago. But the team's doing a great job, you know, community benefit fund projects, all kinds of great things going on. The federal budget, federal layoffs, everybody probably saw the shutdown sort of officially ended. There's not a clear picture on when those employees who are deemed non-essential will all be brought back to work. But there does seem to have been, as part of the compromise, a commitment to paying everybody their back pay. So that was in question for a while. So not just the people who were required to work through the shutdown, but those who were furloughed and are coming back. Everybody should get paid, which makes the life a little complicated on our end because then they have to pay back their unemployment insurance benefits, but it's better for people in general, so it's cool. This year, since the beginning of the year, we've seen 1,517 unemployment claims from federal employers, and 1,033 of those have come since October 1st. So again, talk about our teamwork and overtime. That's been a huge burden for them, but they've done a great job. Almost all of those claims have already been adjudicated. But just in case people are wondering about the impact for the furloughs that have happened in the past month, the top employers that we've seen are Air Force, U.S. Department of Agriculture, and Department of Interior Bureau of Indian Affairs. So it's hitting the rural communities, I think, maybe harder than people realize, even though Albuquerque, Bernalillo County are still leaders in in terms of the number of claims, we're seeing, Grant County, all kinds of places that we think of as forest and cows are getting hit. McKinley County out there in Gallup, San Juan, all those places are really getting hit pretty hard. But hopefully with the shutdown over for the next 6 weeks, we can get back on track for the holidays. In terms of Medicaid and SNAP, so we were very fortunate in the first special session to receive as a department $1.5 million to help with the effort related to SNAP work requirements going back to their full extent, and then also the able-bodied adults without dependents requirements for work search, and then also the Medicaid work requirements. So Medicaid historically has not had work requirements. Those will kick in as of December 31st, 2026. But it's an estimated 90,000 people who will be affected statewide. And so we're not going to do as complex of a program as we have with TANF. We're basically just going to do what we do well, our Title III and Title I services, but we're going to be, we're going to have all those folks directed to us to use us to help them find work or to find better work. There's another population of about 10,000 non-citizens who will be kicked off Medicaid on October 1st of next year. We think most of them are authorized to work. Probably most of them are already working, but either not earning enough to earning so little that they have Medicaid, or they're not, they don't have health insurance through their jobs. And so we'll also be working to outreach to those folks. Again, already work authorized, so perfectly acceptable for us to work with, but we need to help those people as well on a shorter time frame. So rolling then into our legislative requests, since we got 1.5 million that actually goes all the way through the end of FY 27. We are only asking for a little more, another 750,000 to help with the Medicaid and SNAP requirements next year. And then we are asking for some money to make up for the losses we've seen mostly in the unemployment insurance program. We're asking for the money to go into our IT, our workforce technology division, but that is because the workforce technology pulls from all the other federal grants to get their money. And so if we fund them with state money, then those programmatic funds can go back to where they originated, mostly UI. We're also asking for money for WIOA. So we know the local boards got a $3 million collective haircut, even if the numbers hold as they have been circulated so far. And so we are asking for that money in one time so that we can push that back out, make the local boards whole, so we don't see cuts at the local level. We're also asking for money to continue pre-apprenticeship, to continue the work we're doing for intensive case management for out-of-school youth with JAG, and then for AmeriCorps. So even though AmeriCorps funding was restored this year through litigation, it is pretty widely viewed that it will be cut entirely next year. And that will actually be an $11.5 million cut statewide for all the AmeriCorps and VISTA programs. We're just asking for $2 million to try to stand up our own thing in one-time money for next year, so that hopefully the department can roll into the 27 with a full game plan of what they would need to continue AmeriCorps on a long-term basis, because it's a great program. In terms of legislation, the only thing that we're running on the workforce side of the house is a bill to establish our Office of New Americans in statute. So most of you know, we've had that office for almost 2 years now, or a year and a half. It's headed by Leo Castaneda, and it's just been tremendously successful. We've done webinars to inform employers about how immigration changes are affecting them. We're doing a lot of frontline work with immigrants. They're actually leading some of the work around the energy transition. We're doing some surveying right now, but we'll be able to put some programming behind that as we learn what different communities need, and even doing some, urgent response when there are minors unattended after an Immigration Enforcement Act. We're involved in all of those efforts too. So it's just really timely. It's privately funded, so it's not a budgetary ask, but we want it to be recognized in statute so that whoever the next administration is knows that this is an essential part of the department. And that's it for my updates.
Thank you. Any questions for the secretary? Online?
No.
All right, thank you. I've got a note for sector strategies. Raquel Gomez, do we have a presentation on that? An update.
Just an update. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me. I know that there was some discussion around sector strategies at the last board meeting. But I'll just give a high-level overview on what we've done, how we got here, and what we'll be doing. Sector strategies are listed as our first cross-goal strategy on our Workforce and Innovation Opportunity Act, or our WIOA Strategic State Plan. And it does state that the goal is to collaborate across WIOA partners, workforce regions, education providers, and employers to develop comprehensive strategies for priority sectors that are tailored to each workforce region. And because of that goal, we submitted for a grant, or Pairing Climate and Infrastructure Careers grant funded through the Family and Workers Fund, which we were awarded earlier last year. Which has provided us with the technical assistance and funding to build capacity at the department to really focus on that almost full time. So we have 1.5 staff members focusing on our sector strategy work full time. We have created a working group with representatives of the Department of Workforce Solutions, along with the 4 local workforce regional development boards. We have in addition to just creating that working group, we have created a shared vision, which I'd like to share. So our shared vision for sector strategies is New Mexico will cultivate a dynamic, inclusive, and resilient workforce through sector strategies that align industry, workforce development, education, and economic development by fostering employer-driven partnerships, investing in innovative training programs, and leveraging our diverse and emerging industries. From aerospace to agriculture, we will empower communities with high-quality career pathways that drive sustainable growth, economic mobility, and statewide prosperity. Sonara spoke a little bit about what sector strategies are. Over the last, since May, we've held 5 sector strategy convenings. 1 in energy in each 4 regions. So 4 energy sector partnerships is what we call them, and 1 statewide agriculture sector strategy. And the work that we're doing now is really to institutionalize the sector strategy process to empower our local boards to continue that even after this grant is over. We've also developed a sector strategy training in partnership with all of the partners and our technical assistance providers. That training will be implemented next year, early next year, for all of our America's Job Center staff and workforce partners. Some of the next steps in our sector strategy work include the development of the actual energy sector strategy or our plan, and that will be in alignment with our other climate ready and infrastructure work, including our final report per our Executive Order 2024-152, which is the order to increase climate ready and infrastructure workforce, or to meet our goal of 2,000 trained workers by the end of 2026. We're also focusing on creating a quality job definition in partnership with the technical assistance group, because New Mexico doesn't have one formal, like, what is a quality job, right? We know what a quality job is, but we haven't, as a state, as a department, as a workforce system, really agreed on what that could be. And once we do that, we would be able to integrate more of that job quality into community benefit agreements, into formal agreements, into partnerships, and start the process of increasing job quality throughout the state, and hopefully incentivizing employers to be able to do that. So a request that I have today for the board is to work with our committees and representatives on the development of that job quality definition, so that we can integrate it into our strategy by sometime next year. And does anybody have any questions?
Any questions from the board? Comments? Online? All right, thank you. All right, now moving on to chair and board comments. Any comments from the board today's meeting?
I don't know how many of you are familiar. I know they did a kickoff here and they did one in Santa Fe, but United Way of North Central New Mexico has now been doing this work on, I wrote it down, so I'm not sure I get it, Alice in New Mexico, which is the asset limited income constrained employees. And they've done a lot of data around it, what it looks like in certain communities, definitions. I'm gonna not do half as good a job as Rodney Prenti did in kind of talking about who these individuals are, but how they very much are an engine, right, of our workforce, particularly in New Mexico. So it's something I'm becoming familiar with. It's really interesting work and data in particular, and they've done it for the entire state, even though they've done a lot of the kickoff around it here, you know, in central and northern New Mexico. But I'd be happy to share the link to the website that has the report. And I just don't know whether it's through one of the committees, if we maybe want to think about bringing them in. They've been doing these presentations around who these individuals are and what other states and other communities have been doing in order to help support this particular employee base. So it's just been, I just think it's worth kind of understanding what that data is. And again, because it's a large percentage in a lot of our communities. And again, just recognizing they really are driving a lot of the workforce in this state and are often the ones who are struggling. And they're exactly the people that I'm talking about in these populations. So just wanted to.
Thank you. Yeah, please share that. About that. Yes.
I also want to state that my office is in the process right now of doing career technical education convenings across the state for all 14 career clusters. And so what we're trying to do is update the industry standards and course standards alignment. And so next week on the 19th, the education cluster starts, and they will be day sessions, and we want to make sure that we bring in representatives from those industries into these meetings to give their input and feedback. So on Wednesday, November 19th, it will be at CNM Workforce Training Center for the education cluster. And then on the 20th, the construction cluster will convene too as well. So I have a list of those and I have a bunch of flyers. So if I could send it to the board, to ladies, and if you could get those out to all of your contacts that it's relevant for, that would be greatly appreciated. We're trying to modernize our review the programs of study that we have and really modernize them and align them to the new national career clusters. So we're in that process.
Thank you.
So appreciate it.
Any other board comments? Yes, Greg.
I do, excuse me. I do want to mention that the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation does have a new full-time permanent director. Dr. Stefan Scott is there now and doing a great job.
All right, great to hear. Thank you, Greg. Anybody else online? All right, my comments are pretty short. Thanks again to everybody. I think we've got one more meeting this year. Do we have a date for that yet? So December 18th, same time?
Same time, same place, 2 p.m. here at.
All right, so make sure to mark that on your calendars. I think we've already sent out a calendar notification, but just as a reminder, December 18th at 2 p.m. Same location, yeah.
My birthday's the 19th. Joking.
On the agenda
Birthday
for
cake for all
next
December
meeting is a happy birthday sing-along for Rebecca.
That's my birthday too.
Oh, really? Oh,
Really?
oh. Well, then now we have to do it.
Gonna have to do it.
Have to bring her cake. Birthday too, for some of that chocolate they keep talking about.
Yeah.
I was like, why didn't they bring samples?
Okay, now we're moving on to public comment. Do we have any public comments for the 2024-2027 WIOA state plan modification?
Do you have someone that signed in?
Oh, mistake. We're good.
Oh.
Oh, okay,
Okay, we're good.
so no comments.
No.
All right. Well, then we're at the end of our agenda. If there is nothing else, Then, and if there are no objections, we are adjourned.
So move to adjourn the meeting.
I just.
Just.
You are welcome to object. And then say. I would like to
There,
vote.
Josh.
And then we can do a vote. But I figure, let's just,
Let's just go with it.
yeah. But yeah, I mean,
Yes.
we certainly could do both. So if there are no objections, we are adjourned.
Wait.